thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Ali Watson. I'm the founder and CEO of Code Like a Girl, and my pronouns are she and her. I am recording this session from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and thought I'd just begin by paying my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if you're not familiar, Coffee and Code is a little YouTube series from the team at Code Like a Girl. And it's really where we sit down and we chat with some people about tech. And so we get to know, the people behind the code, and we have a little conversation about their lives, their careers, their challenges. And, today we are joined by quite an amazing group of talent from the team at Pepperstone. And we're going to be diving deep into the topic of the career ladder in tech, which is really relevant because the three people I have with me, Nelly's an engineering chapter lead, Caitlin is a delivery lead, and Anita's a product manager. So there's a lot of managers and a lot of leads titles there. And I guess during this session, I would love to get to know everyone a little bit better and understand how those titles came about. How did you get to where you are today? And so I'm going to begin with Nelly. Nelly's actually joining us from Cyprus. The rest of us are on the Melbourne time zone. So for everyone else, it's not really coffee time, but for Nelly, it definitely is coffee time. It's 8 o'clock in the morning where she is. So I appreciate you getting up early, Nelly, and joining us. You have a fascinating story about how you first entered technology. And, I'd love us to take a little bit of a time machine and take us back, Nelly. What's the story? How did you first get into tech?
It is a really amazing story of pure luck, as I call it. Being a student of the state university in the middle part of Russia, being my last course, and already being a mom of 2 years old boy, I got an advertisement in a newspaper calling for a female programmer for part-time, and
Oh,
it was absolutely amazing advertisement, and I was stuttered about it, and I called them, and imagine there was no electronic CVs or or messengers that time. Well, the iPhone didn't exist,
oh wow.
and um, so I called them, and they invited me for an interview, and we discussed what I have already in my portfolio. Um, that wasn't much, to be honest. And the position they actually advertised was already taken. It was a quality assurance position, and it is a stereotypical, basically. Even in that time, it's the year
Mm.
2004 that the quality assurance is female's job.
Interesting.
And yeah, they
Got us cleaning
already
up the code.
yes, I think this is belief related to that girls are more accurate, neat, and
Mm.
have more attention to details. I think this is the bias.
Mm.
So anyway, they offered me a full time, and I was absolutely happy about it. And that time, at the university, we didn't learn this language even, so they gave me a full training, and they
Incredible.
supported me in this journey. Yes, I didn't expect to have a full-time job, to be honest. I really wanted part-time,
Yeah, I was going to say,
but
is that the reason you applied the flexibility, the part time?
yes,
Interesting.
exactly. Yeah, because I needed this flexibility because my son has just started the nursery, and I expected that all these kids' sicknesses, then you are off and on and all this. But yeah, the it was very good experience, and this is the best experience I could get to start my career, because before I got my first real job, real because of course I have some practice, some study course and so on, projects, but the real world paid job. It
Yeah.
was my first experience, and I didn't see myself as a programmer before. I saw myself more as an accountant, maybe, or something with numbers, this sort of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very good. It was very good boost of my career. It was a very good start, being able to work in international company. It's unbelievable being in such it's very small town I was raised in. It's 300,000 people, and it's quite
Mhm.
far from big cities. And having an experience in outsourcing company for the UK, boosting my English as well, then using technologies, it was really good. And I think that this is the event that really put my life on this ladder, say, on this path.
Oh, I love that, Nelly.
Just a
Thanks for
newspaper.
sharing. Just the newspaper. What a
Yeah.
series of events, and how interesting it is that we take these little small turns in our life, or we make these small decisions, or they seemingly seem small at the time, and they just open up your world. It sounds like, I'm glad you didn't become a mathematician. I'm glad that you didn't become an accountant. It sounds like
Me too.
you fell in love with coding. I love it. Anita, I'd love to go to yourself next. So Anita, you're a product manager, but that's not always been the case. You've got an interesting story about how you transitioned from marketing into to product management. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
So yeah, my background is marketing. I studied a master's in marketing management at uni. I finished that off, and then I landed a job straight in marketing within the industry. So I used to work at another broker previously, always within the marketing space. And so yeah, I worked my way up, I guess you could say, from marketing coordinator to exec to like marketing manager, and then from there, that kind of was the same time you could say that COVID happened. I resigned from where I was purely because I wanted to explore different different industries, different jobs too. So I tried to pursue. Well, I tried a job in media sales, wasn't for me. I worked at a few different startups, wasn't for me. And then with former colleagues that I'd known at my previous employer, who now work at Pepperstone, they reached out and they let me know, there's a position available at Pepperstone, still within the realms of marketing. However, it wasn't until when I started, a former colleague of mine who was working in the product space at the time when I started, it was particularly small. He suggested that I should consider a career in product. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. I'm sure that I had worked with product managers in previous careers, previous jobs, but to me, it was very foreign. So he was ever so kind to mentor me for a few months, and then he transferred me over into the product team at Pepperstone. So I've been in product for probably coming up to 2 years, I think. Yeah, 2 years towards the end of this year.
Incredible. I'm going to come back to you about that mentorship relationship. I've got lots of questions about that. But before I do that, Caitlin, I'd love to hear a little bit about your career. You're still quite early on, but that's a pretty lofty title you've got going on there, delivery lead. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I had actually did the math this morning. I'm coming up to 5 years since I finished uni. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, it still feels pretty early days, but I've had a number of different roles. I guess so. I started my career straight out of uni. I kind of knew that I didn't. So I studied IT, but I kind of knew I didn't really want to program. Didn't really like it. And for a while,
it's okay. You are definitely allowed to say that. I know that we're code like a ghetto.
I know.
You're allowed to not like it.
It was weird because I really wanted to, and like I could, if I really sat down, I probably could do it. But I think for a while I was like, oh man, like I'm doing an IT degree and like showing an interest in software development, but I don't like developing software. So it was pretty overwhelming actually, trying to find a job and trying to validate, like, no, I do, like I am becoming a professional in IT. Now I have to kind of find myself a job that supports that. So I started as a graduate, as a business analyst. and actually really enjoyed kind of being the conduit between a tech team, because I could talk to them in like a more technical way, but also kind of translating requirements from a business team who had at the time had really no idea about their product and what they wanted to develop. And so I was a business analyst for a while, kind of got those skills, but then I guess found an interest in project management, and different agile methodologies and whatnot. And so I kind of, I said to my boss, hey, I would like to do this, if that's okay. And he said, yeah, totally, like give it a go, like this is the time. I was still my graduate program. He was like, this is the time to experiment and try new things. And I was like, awesome. And I've been kind of like project management / managing delivery for a couple of years now. I've been moved around different technologies, different teams. I've moved companies a couple of times as well. And I really like what I do. It's in learning a lot about tech and how it works, how architecture all hangs together without actually being on the tools. Something I really enjoy.
That's really cool. That's a really valuable skill. Like, I think just, I often tell people, like, I think what I like about learning to code, at least the foundations of it, is just exactly as you talked there. It's like being able to communicate, being able to speak the sort of same language, be on the same page, not completely have no idea of what it takes to build a product. But that architecture is such a cool skill to be able to take into, later in life, those executive positions, like understanding the solution architecture, understanding how things scale even. Is just, very crucial in today's day and age. It's so funny listening to all of you speak and just how, courageous you are to lean into new pathways. Obviously sometimes, and we are taught this from such a young age about how linear the career path is. Even myself, like when I was studying at university, like I got into, my first job was like working in a software house, and lovely group of people. But I think half the battle is finding out what you don't want to do in life. And that first job was like, I wasn't for me. I knew straight away it wasn't for me. I was working on like legacy software that was 10 years old and bugs that were like 5 years old. And it was not bored, but just not, bored. And it wasn't until I found creative agencies. And even then, I ended up getting the job as the back end engineer, which is kind of like what I think I'd wanted was always like the front end. And then I ended up spending like 8 years as a back end engineer, and I loved it. So it's funny, it's a mix of choices / accidents. And then there you go, that's your career path. I'm dying to know a bit more, Nelly, about, you've obviously, that was the start of your career, and now you're a lead. I always talk to our community about leadership, and actually, like, we find that there's quite a large proportion of women that actually don't want, at least at this point in their life or whatever, there's a certain number of women that just don't really want to lead. And I had sort of joked about with some of our network, and I said, maybe it's because we're leading so much at home that we're just like, I ain't got room for that. Did you know when you wanted to lead? Like, was there a point in your life when you realized, I'm ready for this? Give me the responsibility.
Well, I can totally relate to what you're saying. Indeed, we as women, as wives and mothers, have too much on our plates to lead the teams at work as well. And it was my case really for a very long time. And I've been working in software development over 15 years, and it's close to 20. And last couple of years, I got a couple of new children, and my motherhood skills sort of kicked off even more. having 2 under 2 is quite challenging. And and at some point I decided that yes, my new skills that were brought to me by this new knowledge, by this new status of mine as a mother of three, it gave me the skills. It gave me skills of time management, of getting things done. I understood that I can communicate with people and I can communicate effectively. And I never paid attention that I actually can. And that's why I never considered myself as a managerial material. And I was happy with my job and I still love coding. It is something that I love it on daily basis. This is what I do, and making things work finally, it's just amazing feeling. Then you run several things and they work all together. It's like, what can be better? But at some point, then I started to discuss the opportunity with Pepperstone last year. It came into a picture that there is a necessity of a new team lead, and we agreed that I'm gonna start as a senior software developer, so as an engineer, to understand what they have, how the things are being done in the company. And slowly I could take the more responsibilities, I could take the ownership, I could help with interviewing people for the team. And eventually I got there, and now it's been like 6 months of me being officially in a position. And I I I enjoy it actually. Of course, it's quite stressful comparing to just code writing, because you have to handle the people, you have to understand that everyone is happy, and how to negotiate with people to make the work maybe a little bit faster or something. But it is a different sort of um, job which is interesting still. So I can still have a touch to the code. I can do code reviews. I do the architectural discussions, decisions, and it's not on. It's this. It's like it's different.
Different
It's a
kind of.
little bit the same. It's a little bit the same in certain aspects, but I just do more research from technical perspective, say.
That's such good lessons, Nelly. I love that so much. Sounds like you've got great support there. Um, Anita, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your support journey. So you talked a little bit about your mentorship that you had. And I think people listening to this, often that's the advice women get, like you need a mentor or find a mentor. And it's sort of a bit vague and lofty. And I think people want to understand, like, how you establish a mentor relationship. What is the nuts and bolts? Like, what do you even do with that mentor? Like, have awkward coffees, or is there something much more tangible?
They're very good questions. I think fundamentally, when it comes to anything really in life or your career, I think it's all on you, really. So it's up to you what you want to get out of your job. It's up to you what you want to get out of your life, right? So it's the very same mindset I have when I come to work. I kind of think about work as an extremely long uni assignment, you could say, that just never ever ends. There's different teams you need to collaborate with, different stakeholders you need to engage with, different ongoing projects all the time, and they're never the same. So for me, when I come to work, I want to make sure that I'm also getting something back for myself. So I give, but I also would like something in return. So for me, when I see kind of opportunities at work that I think that I could grow into, or I could develop my skill set to acquire new ones and successfully transfer into positions, I value working relationships. I value networking too, because there's an element of knowledge sharing with the mentor or with those around you, and they can help you get from A to B. Sometimes they can help you to get from A to Z. So so I think who you work with is really important to learn from, and they don't necessarily have to be people in your team either. They can be anybody. anyone can be your mentor, I think, so long as there's someone that you aspire to learn from, someone that you aspire who has a skill set that you wish to adapt or you wish to learn yourself and acquire for the future. That's kind of how I approach these mentoring relationships, you could see. I always get confused between the mentor and the mentee and some sports. So mentoring
No,
relationships in general.
Good question. I think you're the mentee in this situation, but who knows?
So then, yeah, when I started at Pepperstone, I honestly, I didn't know much about product. It was actually my colleague, so my mentor at the time, he said, hey, you have a skill set that, you know, if you continue learning and developing, you could become a great product manager one day. And he just said, I want to help you. So I was like, okay, great. I'm keen to learn more. I'm always up to seizing new opportunities. You never know where they can go. And the worst thing that anybody could possibly ever say to you is no. So I'm always one for kind of pushing the boundaries, see where things go until I get a no. So I explored. So yeah, he helped me explore like product principles. We caught up probably every week. You know, part of it was formal in that we had to kind of log my development plan, and then how we kind of went about making sure that I was developing my skill set was that tasks that I were giving in my marketing role, I could easily apply skills that I was learning with him from a product perspective to my other marketing day job responsibilities. So that happened, say, for a course of 6 months. He also suggested a lot of literature to read. I have started a few. Cannot say that I ended many.
I'm a terrible reader. Don't even ask me how many books I've read.
They're very good recommendations. Very good recommendations. There's one. It's the How to Win Friends and it's really that one. Very good. I read that one from start to finish. Very good book.
Oh, I love that. I've never read that book, but it comes up often, and I feel like it's one of these like old classics. But I'm glad to hear it's still relevant.
Very good. It was his first recommendation, and I read it start to finish. Very good book. And yeah, so 6 months down the track, he transferred me. Yeah, a position opened up or an opportunity opened up in the small product team that it was then. Still relatively small, growing, but he transferred me into the product team after that journey, which I think was very important. So yes, networking, relationship building, learning from your peers, it's super invaluable because they can help you. It might not be in the current, like where you are currently. They may very well help you years down the track when you're not even working where you are now.
That's it. Networks, keep those relationships strong. Try not to burn bridges if you can. That's it. I'm so curious. So Pepperstone obviously works in the trades and investment space. Has anyone here sort of been converted and they're now just like an amateur investor? They're wanting to move into that space. I always think like when you work on a product, you become very invested in it.
I would, yeah, Caitlin, how about you? You're quite new, actually, relatively new.
Are you finding yourself getting pulled into the world?
Trying to. I guess also just trying to understand. Pretty lucky in the product that I work on. It's less so about trading specifically. Anita's actually my product manager.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So yeah, not really. I was actually.
There's still time.
But yeah, still learning about. And I'm actually am keen to learn more about trading and how that, the logic and the software engines that go into how that's actually built. But yeah, at the moment we've got a customer facing onboarding software.
Oh yeah, I think you were telling me about that, Anita. And what about yourself, Anita? You're dabbling. Are you dabbling in the investments? Are you like
I prefer share trading. I think as far down the path of CFDs and leverage trading that I've been is just demo accounts.
That's
It's actually interesting. I will say, so Anita and I work in the onboarding space. So we need to, like, I guess the challenge is we need to make, like, we want customers to onboard, we want them to use, we want them to onboard easily and use the system, but we also, we need to be picky with who uses the system.
Got that responsibility, don't you?
A bit. And even, I guess, I guess like one of the, basics of developing software is, how easy it is to use and make it for the lowest common denominator to be able to interact with the software. But that's not really the case for our team. Yeah, we kind of have to set some challenges in there, like our onboarding, you have to pass a quiz. So,
oh wow, I love that. I would definitely. I mean, I might pass. I don't know. I have a Raise account. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, Caitlin, you're quite early on in your career, so I feel like you, out of all of us, might remember most what it's like to make that jump into a career. Like reflecting on some of your own sort of challenges, you would say, like, is there anything that comes up for you that sort of, when you think about your challenges early on in your career that you can speak to that might help, maybe if there's someone listening that's at that really early stage of their career, like, you get any things that come to mind when it comes to those early days?
Yeah, I guess in general, like, I mean, I'm sure this has been heard a lot about code like a girl, like just kind of fighting for a seat at the table. And I kind of like touched to it before that even though I am in IT and I'm in a non-technical role, as a woman, people can dismiss you pretty quickly. And so for, especially in the early days, like kind of having the confidence to kind of say like, no, I actually do know what I'm talking about and I can provide value out of this conversation, or I need something out of this conversation. Like just because like, developer or something isn't in my title, doesn't mean that I don't have the right to be here.
Totally.
Yeah, so I guess like one of that, like the thing is one, just learning more about the domain and also having a lot more confidence in how I speak. So one of them actually, like getting mentor did help with that. Who, like my mentor was a woman, like very similar career path to me. Started in like IT help desk and then kind of moved into leadership. So yeah, she was really helpful actually, saying, you need to think about what you say. Like don't say yeah, I just need to know, like she's like,
it's so hard, isn't it though?
It's so hard.
So ingrained. It's so ingrained.
Yeah, it's really ingrained.
I'm thinking
this. It's like I'm not thinking, or I'm not just wondering, like I know what I need. So kind of having that confidence and persistence. Actually, it took like a bit of work and conscious effort, and even now, I'm
the same, Caitlin. Even on a day-to-day basis, I'll reread an email and I'll be like, hey, you're the CEO. Got to be more convincing than this.
I know, yeah, exactly. So yeah, sometimes I do rewrite sentences, even if they're like on Teams or on Slack, but it can be more casual. I'm still trying to assert myself in this role, and even I'm quite new to this company in this role now. Kind of making that more conscious effort to be more confident in what I'm saying, and because ultimately that's how I want people to perceive me. I want people to, be able to go to Caitlin because she knows what she is talking about, or she knows who to talk to, stuff like that. But yeah, and then as I said, getting a mentor was really helpful. Even just talking about, we would talk about project management. So when I started as a project manager, like just general project management stuff.
That's it.
But also how I would like relay conversations, or sometimes difficult conversations with her, and just kind of get her feedback on how she would approach it, how I could do better. yeah, how I need to be more assertive when I need to, especially as a project manager. So
That's great
yeah.
advice, Caitlin. Beautiful advice. And I guess, like, you know, probably applicable to anyone in any point of their career, really. I think the mentoring thing is a really great, it really does help. And I think you said something really key about having that similar journey, like that person that was mentoring you is on your career track. I think that's really important. Like, it's not easy sometimes to find women in tech who are senior, but you know, as Anita found a real great male champion of change that was clearly, you know, sort of put his neck out, not put his neck out, so like it's great. No one needs to put their neck out, but just sounded like he just really was a really good guy and really cared about Anita's progress. So that's wonderful. I want my final question, and what I want to end on is just the size of the team is about 300. Where's my 387 staff members? That's huge. And so a lot of people tuning in, like, we have a mixed bag of viewers. We'll have people who are freelancers, we'll have people just starting out in their career. And I think one of the questions I always grappled with in my career, moving from job to job, was like, what is the big difference between like a big team, like a big team, big company versus like a small company, small team? And so, you know, does anyone have any thoughts about like what you sort of get with a big team? I think Nelly, you spoke to this previously. If you want to chat a little bit about what's it like to work for a big team?
Okay, I think a relatively long career path comparing, because I worked in many companies in different countries. And I worked in really small companies, like 10 people, like 20 people, 50 people, and in huge companies, like in I worked in Moscow branch of America's top 100 companies, Black and Which, or I worked at one of the biggest banks in Russia, Raiffeisen Bank, which is like at least 3,000 employees and more.
Oof.
And yes, and now I work at Pepperstone, which shows the culture of big corporates. And what I like about the corporative culture, that they have it, because usually small companies, they don't have resource to have proper people and culture. Usually they don't even have human resources, someone you can come to. And in the big companies, you can see your career path. You can have some tools to achieve your goals in learning. You can see your next step. Like, okay, for example, a clear example, software developer. Usually it's like where you go, you're junior, intermediate, senior, team lead or tech lead, architect, whatever. You can, there is not much variations if you want to keep your technical skills. And here at Pepperstones, for example, we have an option. You don't have to become a lead. You can go to principal engineer and you will have the ownership of the product, and you are not any less valuable as a team lead. And I mean that the skill is very important. Technical skill is important. Leading skills are important. And in corporate world, it's more likely that you find a place that fit you the most. And if you find a proper tools and proper help and proper mentor and proper everything, actually. Even though when we speak about the small companies, you might be probably introduced to many roles. You can be at the same time a developer, quality assurance, and maybe part-time HR. I don't know. I'm just making it up, of course. But like, you have to do everything yourself. And if you work in a big company, you can be more concentrated on the role you want to have and what you want to do. And at the same time, you can have people who are only specialized in one thing or in similar thing that you're interested. For example, if I want to know something about cloud engineering, I can go to the team and say, okay, guys, I really need help in this. I want to configure it myself. Can I have someone to help me? And in this case, okay, I can't say that they will jump on it, but eventually, eventually I will, of course, get some help from every team. I believe so. And Anita and Caitlin, as onboarding, they know that uh, it is always a collaboration between engineering teams, between product teams, between business as well, because business doesn't know much about engineering, I believe. And we always need people who will explain, who will translate what it means. And I don't say that being in a small company is bad for your career. It is good, but it is very
Don't know,
different
I'm really regretting
experience.
my career.
Yeah, come on.
I love it,
As
Nelly. You've really done it proud. I honestly am. There's a part of me that thought, I really have missed out something here. I went
no,
from
no,
a
no, no,
small
no.
company to then running a company. I am the small
I,
company.
yeah, I think like first like 10 years of my career I spent in really small companies. Okay,
Yeah.
or relatively small.
That's it. It's
Like
sort of a balance, isn't it? You get, sometimes it's like you get thrown into the deep end with the small companies and you kind of stretch yourself more than you think you would or ever thought you would. And then
yes,
with the corporate sounds, I mean, I just love that idea though of the development plan. I sometimes talk about just how early software engineering jobs are in the grand scheme of like, when you think about doctors, right? We need doctors, right? We need to make sure we
yeah,
don't ever have too much of a shortage of doctors. So there's all this structure and training and, you do your first year of residency and then you've got this person as your mentor and it's all this structure to make sure that you can be the best doctor you can be. And sometimes I go into companies and software engineering development pathways don't even exist and no one really understands like how to get to be the CTO one day. But it sounds like at Pepperstone, there's, it's the place you want to be if you're growing in your career. Like it sounds supportive. It sounds like you've got lots of specialist teams to support you. And what's really came through in this call is that mentorship culture. It doesn't sound like it's like something, it sounds like a culture that's really there, which is lovely. And so I think that's probably a good time to put a line under this and say thanks for coming along to this call. It's been so interesting finding out about what it's like to be a delivery lead, what it's like to be a product manager, and what it's like to be a tech team lead. Nelly, it's so great to have women in senior leadership in tech like yourself who just have that real extensive background, and it's been a pleasure just getting to know you all during this little coffee and code. So yeah, thanks so much. Any last words, anything you'd want to I don't know, putting you on the spot.
Oh, just thanks for having us.
No
Great
problem.
session.
it is,
I knew we'd
it is
have
an
one.
honor.
I messed up at the end, didn't I?
I just if I can say that I just want to say that to any girl who might watching this video that you shouldn't be afraid or hesitate. There is still a bias in tech, but you can do everything and you can do it better than anyone, and you don't have to compare yourself to your male colleagues because you do it your way. And just don't be afraid. It's gonna all work out.
I love that. I'll do that and
That's
repeat
actually
at
very
night.
nice.
That's so good.
Just before I go to bed, just Nelly saying that over and over again. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right.
No, seriously, we all
Nelly,
gone
that's
through
beautiful.
challenges. Yes,
Yeah, I
and
love
I
that.
remember even times then male programmers came, like 6, 7 people, just to see there is a female candidate here. I've been there, and it's okay. It happened, but the industry changes, and we are now have every opportunity to be what we want to be, and we don't have to step back.
No better
That's it.
place to end. That was really inspirational. Thank you so much, all of you. I'm going to sign off there, but thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been Coffee and Code with Anita, Nelly, Caitlin, and myself, Ali. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.